Ladies and gentlemen, Stan Solo is back with another round of figures. Now, I am a little late in making this video because I had a lot of other stuff going on, and I also really wanted to think about what this wave of figures means for Stan Solo and its history in the Star Wars collector space. So I admit I mulled it a little too long, but let's get started. And first, let's do a rundown, a brief lightning round rundown of the figures themselves. First up, we have a long-awaited gap filler in the Kenner line, Dagobah training Luke Skywalker. I love the fact that Stan Solo, as always, really has a knack for that Kenner style and detail. Early images had some people worrying and grousing a little bit about his face and hair sculpt, but I really like the fact that it is markedly different from the vintage Bespin Luke because it looks like the scene. That's something that I think Kenner would have done. They wouldn't have necessarily given him the exact same head. It goes without saying that the quality of the figure is excellent, very nice tight joints with plastic that feels exactly like vintage Kenner. And in a really cool surprise, Stan Solo has offered us two distinct versions of this Dagobah training Luke through the accessories. One set of accessories, the yellow lightsaber and blue blaster, signifies what this figure would have looked like if it had come out in the Empire Strikes Back era from 1980 to 1982. But Stan Solo also gives us another option, which is the option that I've talked about with Stan Solo's new Kenner Imagined figures a lot, which is the idea that these are Power of the Force 1986. And in that vein, he has given us a version with a blue lightsaber and a sort of blue-black blaster, which would have been the accessories they would have used after 1985. And not just with the loose figures, but with the cardback options as well, he gives you the choice of a Dagobah training Luke on the Empire Strikes Back cardback with the yellow lightsaber and the blue blaster, and he also gives us a gorgeous Power of the Force style 1985-86 cardback with the coin packaged with the blue lightsaber and the blue-black blaster. And it goes without saying he is the perfect companion for the training backpack with vintage Yoda on his back. I'm so happy to finally have this after all these years, and I'm really excited to display it with my Dagobah playset. The other big release from this wave of Stan Solo is Darth Vader with removable helmet from Return of the Jedi. Stan Solo has taken a lot of opportunity here to give us a truly upgraded Darth Vader that Kenner might have given us in the mid-80s. He now comes with a clip-in red lightsaber, and his hands are sculpted just like Dagobah training Luke to have a really nice grip on the lightsaber itself, so it's not constantly falling out like the Kenner versions often did. Extra details that were accidentally left off the original Kenner version of the figure, specifically his waist piece, are now sculpted onto this new Darth Vader. And in the tradition of later Return of the Jedi figures, he has a soft goods cape and skirt. The skirts being attached via waist clips exactly in the same fashion as the vintage Imperial Snowtrooper. But of course, the main event for this figure is the removable helmet, which comes off exactly like it did in Return of the Jedi. And underneath is a great Kenner rendering of Sebastian Shaw, who played the face of Darth Vader. Just as with Dagobah training Luke, Darth Vader is offered up in both a Return of the Jedi style cardback, which would be from 1983-84, and he's also in a beautiful Power of the Force style cardback to imagine what it might have been like for him to come out in 85 or 86. The other big exciting feature of this wave of Stan Solo figures is the return of the astromech droids. The astromech droids were so excellently done by Stan Solo early on. They were a mainstay of his figure release waves, and then they disappeared off the map for a while because of problems with factories overseas, and now they're back, and he has put together a great initial wave of new astromechs to kick us off. The first is a re-release of R3-M3. This was one he did back during his last round of astromech droids. This is one from the original Star Wars that tooled around on the Death Star with a transparent dome head. This one is now a much richer blue color, and it has a much clearer, crisper, transparent dome than the original. That's not to say the original wasn't an excellent figure. It is, but this one just really jumps off the page a little more. Then we have R3-T2, a Mos Eisley astromech that I'm sure many people are excited about to put in their sprawling Mos Eisley displays. And finally, we have one of the most recognizable astromechs that wasn't R2-D2, R4-M9, who is seen in the original Star Wars film rolling down the hallway of the blockade runner with captured Rebel fleet troopers. This is one of those astromechs that all of us as kids saw and remember so well because it was so different from R2-D2 and yet so prominently featured so early on in the original film. And Stan Solo has recreated this figure beautifully, with really great Kenner-style sculpting of the head itself, and then the great detail work on the sticker to mimic his striping and detail in the film. And also, it should be pointed out, he looks really great with the Stan Solo fleet troopers. Finally, in this run of Stan Solo, if you are a Jawa fan, then you are in luck, because Stan Solo has released a full range of Jawa cardback variants. The original vinyl-caped Jawa, the soft goods robed Jawa, and the tri-logo Jawa. So here we are, several years into Stan Solo's amazing run on Kenner-inspired Star Wars figures, with the Tonica sisters arriving in collectors' hands right now. And I can't help but think back to those earliest days with the Stormtrooper disguise Han Solo and all of the saber rattling that the anti-repro people were doing, throwing up every excuse as to why this wasn't going to work and all of this was going to fail. And here we are now, looking at a landscape where carded and loose Stan Solo figures, not just of the new gap fillers that Kenner never made, but even some of his most notorious or infamous reproductions like the pop-up lightsaber R2 are now going both carded and loose on the secondhand market for massive dollars, even rivaling the value of some Kenner action figures from the Star Wars line. How is this a failure? How is this a mistake? And also, how was this ever a threat to the vintage Star Wars collector market? Because the prices of those toys have certainly not gone down. All of that hand-wringing and worrying about, oh, this is going to destroy the value of these vintage Star Wars toys. It hasn't done anything to the value of those toys in the negative. I mean, it's negative for collectors like myself and others who would really like some more affordable Kenner stuff out there on the market. But if you're a fan of prices going up, then it's been nothing but positive for you guys. I don't really see any massive impact on Stan Solo's repro stuff hurting the Kenner landscape. As a matter of fact, it's galvanized a bunch of weirdos to go out there and create all these rules and all these exclusive conventions, and the ban hammer is high and large for discussions of repro in all these little communities. I mean, if that works for you, that's great. I think it sucks, quite frankly. I think it's no way for the toy culture to be. But hey, to each their own, right? If you want to go roll around in the mud, go for it. But as far as Stan Solo and its place, Stan Solo has not only shrugged off all of the attacks, Stan Solo has shrugged off all of the naysaying, the contrarian, I guess, whining, whatever you want to call it. And Stan Solo has turned around and created for itself a distinguished foothold in the postmodern vintage Star Wars collecting world. And the values secondhand don't lie. These figures are desirable. They are considered as worthy of collection by many, many people as the Kenner ones they stand alongside. And I'm so happy to know that alternate independent toy makers who are doing some of the best work out there, despite some people who have wrecked certain aspects of this or bruised certain aspects of this temporarily, that there are such reputable, consistently high-quality makers like Stan Solo out there who are continuing to deliver for collectors. Exactly what we've dreamed of, exactly what we've wanted. And he's persevered, even in the face of massive amounts of shenanigans at times from bad actors. So, thank you, Stan Solo, for what you do. Thank you immensely for these amazing figures that have just come out, the Dagobah training Luke and the removable helmet Darth Vader. And also, thank you for the return of the astromechs, because I used to see a lot of chatter where the anti-repro people would say, well, I liked his alternate astromechs, but he can't make those anymore. So now Stan Solo's, washed up. And it's like, astromechs are back, baby. It was just a temporary, frustrating hiatus. And they're back. So now, there ain't no excuse. And we know that there were a number of people who were very vocal anti-repro, anti-Stan Solo people in public who were quietly trying to buy his figures on the down low. And they're still out there and they're still doing it. So congratulations to Stan Solo. You are a treasured element of vintage Kenner Star Wars collecting, vintage Star Wars collecting at this point. And you've done it like no other has managed to do it. I look forward to every new announcement that you are coming out with. I can't wait. I'll be there. I'll have your back. And thank you again for helping make vintage Star Wars collectors' dreams come true 40 plus years later. So thanks for watching this, everyone, and I'll see you on the next video.